This happened 5 months ago. I was 27 at the time, living alone in a second-floor apartment in Greenwood, Indiana. It wasn't far from downtown. There was a 24-hour Walmart nearby and a small cafe I often visited. That night, around 11 p.m., I realized I had run out of coffee and paper towels. Since I had to work early the next morning, I decided to head to Walmart right away. It was only about a 7-minute drive. I grabbed a light jacket and a small bag, went down to the parking lot, and drove to Walmart. I parked in the back area where there were still a few open spots and entered through the main entrance. Inside, there were only a few staff members and a small family. I headed straight to the coffee and kitchen supply section. I knew exactly what I needed. While I was comparing 2 brands of instant coffee, I felt like someone was watching me. When I turned around, I saw a man standing at the end of the aisle. He was tall and thin. He wore a worn-out gray hoodie with the hood up, covering most of his face, and a black mask. He just stood there, completely still. I looked away. Maybe he was just shopping. But strangely, when I moved to another aisle, he showed up again. This time, he was standing beside a shelf, pretending to look at products. But he wasn't moving. He wasn't interacting with anything. To be sure, I moved to a few more aisles, snacks, then household items. But the man kept reappearing, always at a distance, but never completely out of sight. He didn't grab anything, didn't push a cart, didn't talk to anyone. I started feeling uneasy. I pulled out my phone and pretended to make a call. "I'm at Walmart. I'll be home soon," I said, walking faster. When I bent down to grab some paper towels, I felt something, like a slight movement behind me. I turned quickly. No one was there. I rushed to the self-checkout. As I scanned my items, I glanced at the reflection in the cooler next to me. I could see the aisles behind me. He was there again, standing partially hidden behind the candy shelves. Only his upper body was visible. His head was tilted, like he was staring straight at me. My hands were shaking as I swiped my card. Once I paid, I walked quickly to my car, got in, slammed the door, and locked it immediately. I felt a wave of relief, until I realized my phone was gone. I checked my jacket pocket, my small bag. Nothing. Then I remembered I had placed it on top of the cart during checkout. It was my main phone, with all my work documents, emails, bank access, and important notes. I had no choice but to go back inside. Back inside, a few employees looked at me, but said nothing. I went straight to the checkout. My cart was still there, and so was my phone. But when I turned around, I saw him again. The man was standing about 30 feet away. This time, his mask was off. His face was pale. His skin looked sickly, like he hadn't slept in days. His hair was greasy, eyes bloodshot, with deep dark circles under them. In his hand, he was holding an iPhone, pointed directly at me. He didn't speak, didn't move, just stared at me with a blank expression. I turned and walked out. I didn't want to run. Sometimes running only provokes people to chase. Back in the car, I locked the door and sat there for a few seconds, trying to calm down. I opened my phone. The gallery app was still open because I had been playing music earlier. There was a new folder in the gallery. It was named Today. I opened it. There were 5 photos, all of me. Not selfies, candid shots. One of me grabbing coffee, another of me bending down to grab a snack, one of me standing at the checkout, a close-up of the back of my neck, and the most disturbing one, a photo taken from a very low angle, clearly snapped secretly from behind or the side. It showed the inside of my underwear, exposed because my skirt had lifted slightly when I bent over. All the files had been sent via airdrop about 5 minutes earlier. I didn't recognize the sender's device name. It wasn't one I'd ever connected to. I immediately deleted the photos, turned off airdrop, activated a passcode lock. I hadn't used one before. Before I started the engine, I looked in the rearview mirror. He was still there, standing at the Walmart exit, not moving. But this time, he smiled. Just barely. A faint smile. But it was definitely directed at me. I told a few friends about it the next day. Most of them just said, "Well, at least that's all he did. Imagine if he had followed you home." That was the part that scared me the most. Because ever since that night, I never knew just how close he might have actually gotten. I never shop late at night anymore. AirDrop stays off. My phone is always locked. And anytime I feel like someone's behind me, I always check, just to make sure no one's smiling for no reason, while holding a phone that doesn't belong to them. Out of all the jobs I've ever had, working at Walmart was by far the worst. I only lasted about 3 months. It felt like retail hell. The customers were often rude or downright strange, and the coworkers seemed to compete in how little they could care. I was 24 at the time and needed a second job to help pay for my tiny apartment. Sometimes I worked the register, other times I roamed the aisles helping customers, depending on which supervisor was on shift that day. That particular day, I was scheduled for the afternoon to evening shift as a floor associate. Around 7 p.m., while I was restocking detergent bottles in the cleaning supplies aisle, someone tapped me on the back. I turned around, and for a second, time froze. It was Ray, my ex. I froze instantly. Ray looked cheerful, like she was running into an old friend. But there was nothing friendly about that moment. We'd had a messy breakup almost a year ago, and I was sure she was completely out of my life. I had blocked her everywhere, including social media and her phone number. I tried to stay polite, but my heart was pounding. Ray said she just happened to be nearby and had heard from an old acquaintance that I worked here. That immediately raised a red flag. As far as I knew, no one from our old circle still talked to her. After some awkward small talk, she started blaming me for blocking her out of my life. I told her I just wanted peace and that she needed to respect that. But Ray refused to leave. I eventually walked quickly to the back and entered the staff area, hoping she wouldn't follow. Thankfully, she didn't. I was badly shaken that night. Still, I finished my shift until the store closed at 11 p.m. Then I went home, trying to convince myself it was just a strange coincidence. As usual, I microwaved some frozen food, ate while watching TV, then went to bed. But that night, I woke up to a noise outside my bedroom. I looked over and saw my bedroom door was open, even though I was sure I had closed it. I stepped out and noticed my front door was unlocked. Strangely, the spare key I kept under the flower pot outside was missing. I checked the kitchen. One of the large knives from the knife rack was gone. A wave of fear hit me. Ray was the only person from my past who knew about that key. And now, something just felt deeply wrong. I took a deep breath and slowly moved toward my room. After quickly peeking inside, I slammed the door shut from the outside. At the same time, I yelled for my roommate Eric, who came rushing out of his room, confused. A few seconds later, we heard Ray crying from inside my room, saying, "I just want to talk. Please." She tried to open the door, but I held it shut with all my strength. Eric called the police immediately. Every minute felt like forever before officers finally arrived and dragged Ray out, confiscating a knife she had taken from our kitchen. She was detained that night and later charged with breaking and entering an attempted assault. I never thought I'd have to face someone from my past in court, but that's exactly what happened. I moved out not long after that, and I never went back to work at Walmart. Even now, whenever I pass by that store, I still feel the echo of fear from that night. If there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's this. When your gut tells you something's off about someone, listen. Working the night shift at Walmart is no easy job. I often take shifts from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. at a 24-hour supercenter. It's the only way I can drop off and pick up my kids from school, even though it leaves me completely exhausted. I have to stay strong. Rent doesn't pay itself. The Walmart I work at is one of the biggest in the area. Around midnight, the store quiets down and things start to feel eerie. Late night hours often bring in strange people. There's usually only one cashier manning the self-checkout, a few stockroom workers in the back, and the night manager making rounds. One night, around 2 a.m., I was restocking shelves in the electronics aisle. I was kneeling down, arranging items, when my phone buzzed softly. I checked it briefly, then slipped it back into my pocket. As I stood up, I immediately noticed a silhouette at the end of the aisle. Someone was staring directly at me. A tall, thin man stood motionless between the rows of TVs, his eyes locked on me. He wore a worn-out baseball cap and a hoodie pulled up so high that only his eyes were visible. He wasn't holding a shopping basket, just a large, overstuffed dark tote bag in his left hand. A creeping unease settled over me. I tried convincing myself he was just a regular customer, but the way he stared was too intense. I decided to switch aisles. Pushing my large U-boat cart, I moved over to the home appliances section. I hoped he'd leave me alone, but a few minutes later, while I was stocking coffee machines, I felt that same cold sensation at the back of my neck. I turned around. He was there again, standing at the end of the aisle, between the blender shelves, still watching me. He was holding the same bag. He wasn't browsing, wasn't looking at any products. Just standing, staring. That's when the fear kicked in. This man was following me, and it wasn't normal. My heart pounded. I reached for the walkie-talkie clipped to my belt. "Night manager, this is Ashley. Can you come to the home appliances aisle? I've got a bit of a situation here." I tried to keep my voice low. I glanced at the man. He pretended to look at an electric kettle, but his eyes stayed fixed on me. "What's going on, Ashley?" my manager's voice came through. "There's a weird customer. He keeps staring at me and I feel really uncomfortable," I whispered. "All right, I'm on my way," he replied. Time dragged. Every second felt like a minute. I tried to keep busy, but my focus kept slipping back to the man. I couldn't stop thinking about what might be in that bag. Just as I heard my manager's footsteps approaching, the man suddenly dropped the tote bag onto the floor in one quick motion, then turned and walked off briskly. He rounded the aisle corner and vanished. My manager appeared seconds later. "Which man, Ashley?" he asked. "He just went that way," I pointed. My manager looked in the direction I indicated. Then his eyes landed on the dark tote bag lying on the floor. His eyebrows lifted. "Is this his bag?" I nodded, still shaking. He approached the bag carefully. The zipper was partially open. Through the gap, we could see a large roll of black duct tape, a thick nylon rope, and a folded black ski mask. As he gently tilted the bag, a folding knife fell out of a side pocket. We both froze. This wasn't a shopping bag, and what it held clearly wasn't for groceries. There was a much darker intention behind all this. My manager quickly grabbed his walkie-talkie, his voice now firm. 236, this is Night Manager. We've got a serious situation in the home appliances aisle. Suspicious bag found. Contents are extremely concerning. I need security here immediately, and we should notify the police. Lock down all store exits, especially the emergency doors. Within minutes, security arrived. They secured the bag and started reviewing the CCTV footage. We saw the man exiting through the emergency door at the back of the store. He hadn't taken anything. It didn't seem like theft was his goal. He either wanted to scare someone or was planning something worse before he got caught. The police showed up that night. I gave my statement. The man was identified through the footage. He had a criminal record. I went home shaken, but relieved. That experience changed the way I view night shifts at Walmart. Ever since that night, I've stayed more alert than ever. I never saw that man again, and I truly hope I never find out what he was really planning to do with the things in that bag.